Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting. Today is Tuesday, June the 7th, 2022. The time is now 6 p.m. The regular meeting of the City Council will now come to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call, please?
DeBono?
Here.
Griego?
Here.
Ogletree?
Here. Okay, she's participating virtually.
Shu?
Here.
Thurman?
Here.
Williamson?
Here.
Rico?
Here. And Mr. Valentine will also be participating virtually tonight. Approval of the agenda. Council have any changes that they would like to make? Hearing none, entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Call vote.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 3, policy item and staff reports. The Trinidad Community Foundation nonprofit Sam funding report. Colonel Simpleman.
I know you have important business to talk to tonight, so try to keep it as brief as possible. I did submit a report that summarizes our recommendations, and with your approval, we'll go forward. We had 21 requests. We had a total of $34,000, almost $35,000 to distribute to the nonprofits within the community. We had 21 requests. We put a maximum of $2,000 just so we can get as many and help out as many organizations as we could. Now that's our limit, it's not the council's limit. We were able to satisfy everybody's request. Not everybody requested 2,000, but every organization, I should say. And it's summarized in there. If there's any questions, we can answer those questions. I would like to talk a little bit to the exceptions where we didn't fund to the total requested, if we can do that, just so you'll have the answer if you get queried. The Hometown Holidays requested $2,000 for their father-daughter, mother-son dance, and we just felt that's a little bit, taxpayers' money shouldn't be paying for that, especially these times. So that's the only one that we did not provide some funding somehow. The Senior Health Associated Advocate, we recommend $1,250 rather than $2,000. They had some things that are like T-shirts for the volunteers, and again, it's not essential to the mission that volunteers have. So, among other things, a little advertising was a little bit high. The Purgatory River Anglers Trout Unlimited had theirs was, I believe, around $1,700, but we're going to we recommend funding at $750. That buys a fish. It takes, the kids love it. They get out and they work with the kids. They get educated. Not only does it it educates the children and help them to learn about the river, the environment, and that, but it does provide fish for those of us that like the fish to get down and do that. So, and then in addition to that, the Community Foundation will help fund that project. We go out and we'll give them money for food and stuff like that for the kids stuff. The Trinidad Farmers Market requested $2,000. We're recommending $1,343.50. And if you really want to know, that just balances the books. There's no magic thing about that number, but it's for the SNAP program. And we reduced it. We didn't give the $2,000 because even though this is a great program that helps the underprivileged and the families that need it go out and buy at the farmer's market, and then they're matched. The thing is that with the SNAP program, there is another source for them, and those resources, the eligible people are going to have more accessibility, are going to get more money, so that's the reason for that. And finally, the Purgatory Watershed Partnership, that was a grant request to clean up the river. And if you know, remember in the past, Community Foundation, we had our, we cleaned up the community, the Purgatory Watershed, did their event in the fall. We're gonna combine this year and do a community cleanup like we always go. We go out by Walmart, we do it behind Taco Valley and all that stuff. So we're expanding that. And besides that, you know, we raise money for that, the Community Foundation. So rather than hit the city up for, you know, an extra $1,000 or so, we'll raise that money and we'll sponsor that and work with that to get that project done. Now, having said that, the city's always been great about providing us, helping us pick up the trash on that Saturday morning. So we'll be coming back to you and asking for a couple of trucks with a couple of drivers. We always have a big dumpster there that we can help. And we move a lot of trash. Unfortunately, it stays clean for a little while anyway before it just needs to
Have
be
you
done.
scheduled that date yet or not?
We're going to do it in October.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, are there any questions, specific questions,
Any questions from council?
recommendations? If you have any, please ask and we can even get to that.
Colonel,
Yes, sir.
when will you be open for requests for the next grant cycle?
When you send us the money.
Okay. I mean, it's open right now for agencies?
I'm sorry?
It's open right now,
We haven't gotten the money yet. So
but for the next grant cycle?
we can do that. We can start. In fact, last year we did the same thing. We started that second phase about this time, and I had a call today saying, geez, you know, they didn't get their request in time, and so we, you know, there are people needing, you know, there are organizations that need that. By the way, I kind of kept a little track of the time it takes for us to do that, and it's in excess of 120, 130 hours to do this. And just because, you know, 21 requests, you got to get them prepared, you got to get them reviewed, you get recommendations and all that, and then, you know, go through the whole process. So it's not, but we're getting accustomed to it now. We got and the nonprofits, all of them appreciate very, very much what the city does for that. For some of them, it's a matter of survival.
Spiegel.
No, I have no question. No, that is doing a good job. I know it's a lot of work, like you say. Appreciate what you do.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions for the Colonel?
I just want to say thank you for all this work. I know the staff and all of us appreciate everything that you all are doing. The only question I had is the $34,943.50, is that all you have to give away right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Or did you?
No, that's
Okay.
it. Yeah, that's why the 50 cents is in there, because that includes that.
Okay. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
I do want to mention, I think the last cycle, we asked to retain that $695 so we could reach out and train. And we have spent very little. I got some, computer for one organization there, but then you have to get the operating system. So what we're going to do is we have kind of responded to requests, so what I think we're going to do now is we're going to have some classes to teach some of these organizations on how to write a proposal. And the big thing is recording, how do you record expenditures and report that? Because it is taxpayers' money, we have to be careful with. So.
David?
I have no questions.
Any questions?
I have no questions. I appreciate everything you do. It's a lot of effort. It's easy to overlook the importance of it. So we appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And like I say, the nonprofits, I speak for all of them, and they say thank you very much. We appreciate it.
But, Colonel, I just want to say, thank you for the foundation for doing all this, because I know it takes, like I said, the hours that it takes, and before council used to do that, but it takes a lot off of us to concentrate on other things, so thank you for doing this. And we just go by your recommendations, and we feel like you've done a good job the last few years that you've done this. So,
And we will get, by the way, we will get the reports from last year's at the end of June. So we'll just give you a summary of that. Again, we'll give you as much information as you want.
One simple little question.
Yes, sir.
I just was curious, Do you get, I know we give you money in that, do you get any donations and anything from other groups or organizations for this foundation you do?
Oh, yeah, we do.
I mean, I was just kind of curious.
Oh, yeah, we get grants, we get people that donate. And for example, like the cleanup, we'll go out and we'll get businesses will donate and help us out. Unfortunately, we had enough gloves and vests that we had this year covered, and somebody broke into our storage area and went off with, I don't know, 150 vests and neon vests. So if you see somebody walking around with neon vests, like the, you know where they came from, but they're that desperate they can have it. But now we have to go back and do that. But then we'll get a sponsor, like for the projects are easier, if you can imagine. But for the river cleanup, we'll get a sponsor and pay for the food, and the banks have been very generous, you know, where we go hit them up for a couple of bucks a piece. And then we'll write our own grants.
Colonel,
Yes, ma'am.
I got some good news for you.
Good.
Agenda item 8B, resolution authorizing expenditure of marijuana revenue first quarter 2022. So you're on it.
Thank you. We'll start the process, and I'd like to say there are people waiting, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colonel.
Thank you.
Before we move on, anybody who's wearing a hat in the audience, would you please remove it, please, while you're in council? Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Item 3B, first quarter 2022 financial report. Ms. Navarette, our finance director.
Bring down Max.
Okay, can you see this on your screens?
Not yet?
Nope. Oh. Okay.
Lift it up just, about 6 inches.
Okay.
Is that good? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, council, mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Belle. Tonight we'll be discussing the first quarter 2022 revenue and expenditures, our financials. We'll start off, as always, with the general fund. I believe Audra is going to share this on her screen. Oh, yep, okay, great.
Sure.
So, general fund revenues collected through March 2022, we are under-collected at 23.8% or $190,000. So if you recall, first quarter 2021, still right in the COVID wave, lots of sales tax, lots of marijuana sales tax. We did recognize a decrease in general sales tax of marijuana of $145,000. And along with that decrease comes marijuana sales tax decrease of $38,000. So those are decreases, but if we compare to the prior year, I'm sorry, to 2019, 2019 we're still along lines of where we should be. That COVID wave just really boosted the coffers. There was a significant item that scared me somewhat in January with our sales tax collected. We were actually 25% under previous January. But when I went back to review why that possible, because that was an extreme cut, What I found is that a certain business remitted all of its 2020 tax at the beginning of January 2021. So that really skewed the figures. So overall, at the end of 2021, we're only 95% under collected as compared to 2020. You'll look, as you look at your spreadsheet, the intergovernmental revenue is also under collected by $181,000, and that's related to the Brownfields cleanup grant. We dumped the entire grant revenue, but we don't anticipate to receive all of it in 2022. But just so that we know that grant revenue exists, a whole $570,000 is sitting in that line item, and we're chipping away at it slowly with the billings from Stantec for the environmental cleanup. Other than that, everything else is kind of within lines. Are there any questions regarding our revenues? On the general fund? If not, we'll move forward to general fund expenditures. Let's see. We have some over expenditures in our IT department and facilities maintenance and agency support. All three of these items recognize their expenditures at the beginning of the year. IT has a bunch of dues and subscriptions that it pays in January and February. So it's overexpended by $59,000, and that will eventually taper out. It should. And facilities maintenance, we encumber all of the janitorial contracts, and any type of outside contracts are encumbered in January to cover and lock up that money for the entire year. So that's also overexpended by $58,000. Same with agency support. Any agency support granted by City Council, those are paid out in January to those agencies. And finally, fleet is overexpended. Department heads are jumping on the allocated money in the fleet department to get those items ordered. So most of this is encumbered funds that are overexpended. For example, $117,000 is sitting in there for a backhoe that we ordered, I believe, in February or March. So anyway, we had to encumber those funds so that they're locked up, and that's why it seems skewed and overexpended in the first quarter. Are there any questions? That's change.
Questions?
I have a question. So when you're talking about the fleet expenditures, so because of the shortage of equipment, so we've had to order those and wait 2 years for them to be delivered. So that's what causes that fluctuation.
Well, no. At the beginning of the year, we start with a clean slate. I believe there was $680,000 allocated to that, and that includes $180,000 for the vehicles that never came in last year. And so we have paid those. I think we've received them. However, this, let's just say $500,000 is allocated for fleet, and department heads award it amongst themselves, and they're ordering their vehicles now. So the big ticket items, they're encumbered. We may not receive them by the end of December. However, that money is locked away for those purchases. If we don't receive them, we will roll it over into the following year. But mostly, the department heads are ordering early because of the supply and demand, not knowing if we'll receive them this year or not. Does that kind of explain it?
Yes, it does.
Any other questions?
No.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions?
Yes, sure. Why is the contingency overexpended by $24,000?
So contingency is overexpended because we charged items that are on the marijuana resolution tonight. I believe it was the compressor and the electronic message boards. The resolution is back there. Anyway, there were about 4 items that were charged to contingency until we had a chance to talk to council and see if council would allocate them through marijuana. So now that they have been awarded through first quarter marijuana, those items will be backed out of contingency and posted into marijuana, and therefore contingency will go back down to 0.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions from?
Oh.
Yeah, good. Ready to move on?
All right, moving on to power and light, our revenue, we are 0.5% over collected, or $38,000. And our power and light expenditures are over expended by $87,000. We have purchased 2 transformers totaling $36,000 for the projects going on around here. And one of them will be reimbursed, so it'll be dumped back into that line item. And then we are over expended on our power purchases by $50,000, and that's related to the cold temperatures at the beginning of the year. That should balance out a little bit in the next couple of months, and then once the heat comes, we'll have that air conditioning, and eventually it should balance itself out. Any questions on the power and light?
Question?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How does the Johnson Control contract affect our line? It doesn't?
Well, we haven't paid Johnson Control at all since, I want to say our last payment was in October. We've not been invoiced by them. However, those payments would come out of capital outlay, which is at the bottom of the expense. So we've budgeted $92,000 in power and light that probably we still have to expend for Johnson Control's contract. And you'll see that through water and gas.
Okay.
Questions?
Have we just not had an expected draw on that, or is it unknown as to why we haven't been invoiced?
I know that council approved a change order for us to order a bunch of additional water meters, and I don't think they're here. And they're really not doing any work at the moment, so I'm not sure. Probably that's a question for Mike, if he wants to pipe in.
Electrical meters, not water meters, right?
Excuse me?
Did you say water meters?
Yeah, I believe water, yes.
Why don't that be water, right?
If I may, Council, sorry, Cheryl.
Yes.
Yeah, everything is tied up in supply chain issues, and the AMI meters have a chip that they are unable to get. So we're kind of at a standstill with electric meters, water meters, and the gas earths that send the signal back ordered and subject to supply chain issues that none of us have control over. So that's where we're at with that. Thank you.
Okay.
Alrighty, so we will move on to the water fund. We are 4.4% under collected, or $114,000. Of that, $143,000 is the utility service. Again, as I state every year, this is the fund that we recognize these revenues in the second and third quarter just because of the season and the watering of the lawns and whatnot. Our water expenditures are 1% under, or $32,000. If you will notice that distribution and chlorination are overexpended, as well as North Lake. Distribution and chlorination is overexpended because we bill out the SCADA system annual payment and pay it 12 months of the year, each month, and we just encumbered that entire amount in January. So that's a $45,000 contract. North Lake, we had a $32,000 wind damage repair of the actuators, and we should receive insurance funding to reimburse that line item. I haven't seen the payment yet, but anyway, there's $32,000 because of the wind. Are there any questions for water?
Questions from the water?
Yes. Cheryl, how are the marijuana cultivation fees, how are they assessed cycle?
We are actually over collected at 40.6%, or $116,000. That one I have a hard time tracking because it's just depending on when they cultivate. So last year we didn't really see the increase in cultivation funds until October. So I'm not sure what their cycle is, and I haven't really been able to balance that one out. But at this time we did get pretty big lump sums, I want to say in February. So it just depends on when they cultivate.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions for Cheryl on this line item?
I do not, thank you.
So we'll move on to the gas fund. We are over collected at 5.1% or $168,000. $226,000 of that is for our gas purchases, and that's also weather related. So December, January, February, those are the months. That's when we're gonna collect most of the revenue or bill for it. And then our expenditures, oh shoot, I just talked about expenditures, sorry. So our gas revenue, we are over collected by 17.2% or $587,000. And that is what's related to the colder temperatures. We bill out for that in December, January, February, and that will taper itself off because we're barely billing for any gas charges now. And then relative to that is our gas expenditures, where we are $168,000 over expended, and of that, $226,000 is over expended on our gas purchases. And then if you'd like to know at the bottom, we still anticipate $1 million, oh no, I'm not gonna say that. We still have money funded for the AMI project in that fund as well.
Questions on gas?
I have a question.
Yes.
So Cheryl, that 226,366 for gas purchases, is that due to the increase in gas prices?
No, it's because we're overpaying, or we're paying larger bills to cover January, February, and March right now.
Okay.
So 2 older months we're billing for it as well. Yes. And it's seasonal and it will drop off in the next quarter.
Questions from,
No question.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions on gas?
No questions.
Moving on to sewer. Our sewer fund is related to the water fund. It collects most of its revenues during the second and third quarter of the year. At this time, we're 2.2% under collected, or we're $41,000 under. And then our expenditures are under expended by $18,000. It's not too much of a differentiation at this point.
Questions, sewer? No. Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions on sewer?
No questions, thank you.
No questions.
None.
On to landfill. At the end of March, we were under collected by 3.2% or $18,000. This fund tends to be seasonal. Most of the people do their cleanup and yard work and construction activity all happens in the next couple of quarters. Our landfill expenditures, 6.5% under or $41,000. Of that $41,000, $40,000 has been budgeted for the post-closure and closure costs, and we don't post that until the end of the year because we have to wait to see. State gives us a cost ratio that we have to adjust by, and we won't get that till September or October. And actually, that number is typically posted during the audit.
Questions for Linda?
I have a question, Cheryl.
Yes.
So since the landfill became an enterprise fund, what effect does it have on the total budget? Is it holding its own? I mean, it kind of looks like it is
So
in your estimation.
So in 2021, there's a little bit of an anomaly. Water transferred in $327,000, and that was for the cleanup and for equipment. So we technically should take that number out, not factor it in. So the revenue for 2021 in landfill was $565,000, and our expenses were $636,000. And that's where you see that closure and post-closure cost, as well as depreciation. Those numbers weren't factored in prior when it was sitting in the general fund because it got absorbed all through the general fund. now that's where we're starting to see the over and under, over expenditure under revenues. So,
So do you have any questions on landfill?
I do, and I may have missed this, Cheryl, if you talked about it. What's the $267,800 in capital outlay? Is that the equipment that we bought that's going to be covered by marijuana income? Or I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
yes, that is correct. We encumbered $267,000 for the wheel loader. I think we anticipate delivery in July. And then relative to that, you'll see a transfer in from water of $50,000. That should be general fund. Transfer in from general fund of $50,000 to cover that first down payment on that piece of equipment. Every year, you'll see a transfer in from general fund to cover the debt service for that piece of equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Navarrete, I think that it was a good idea that we made a landfill and enterprise fund simply because it allows us to see a better track of all the various departments. I think, I know you were a little concerned earlier on,
Yeah,
but I think.
For a $500,000 fund, I need to track it separately, but, I mean, I understand where we're going with this, but if you look at our financials, there's a huge deficit of like $880,000 that the landfill is in the hole because it can't cover its liability of closure and post-closure cost. So somehow, someday, we're gonna have to figure out how to cover that balance. Alrighty, on to the tourism fund, our revenue. We're at 18.5% under, or $27,000. However, compared to this time last year, we're actually over collected by $10,000. And then this is a seasonal fund. It collects its revenue in the second and third quarters for all the tourists and motel stays and hotel stays. So it will definitely jump up in the next 2 quarters. And then we are under expended by $615, so we're right on track in that fund.
Questions? Any questions? Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
All right.
Okay, almost there. Our lottery fund, we are over collected by $6,300 and we are under expended by $8,200. This again is a fund that is expended seasonally. It's used for our paths and trails and parks and swimming pool. So we'll see those costs or those expenses increase in the next 2 quarters.
Questions? Questions, Ms. Ogletree?
No questions, thank you.
Continue.
All right, finally, our capital revenue, our sales tax. This is general sales tax. It's related to the the general fund general sales tax. We are under collected by $65,000. I'm sorry. We are under collected as compared to 2021 by $65,000. So there's been a decrease. Again, this is related to that COVID wave where we were recognizing a lot of marijuana sales tax at the time. It is comparable to 2019 funding or revenue. And just items of note, we did receive the Colorado Creative Industry grants at the end of 2021. However, that revenue wasn't recognized in 2021. It was classified as deferred revenue because we received it in December. We didn't have a chance to expend it. So we did finally recognize the $3.5 million for the Fox and the $1.5 million for Space to Create. Those were both recognized as revenue in this first quarter. So that's a significant increase to our grant revenue. And that's all I have to say about that.
I guess the main thing is that I think we just have to watch our general fund revenue. I think that's where it seems to be lagging at this point in time. So
It does. The next couple of months, we'll see some telling figures, I think. So I think I'm supposed to receive April's figures today. It didn't get sent in yet. So I think April, May, and June are gonna be big tells of how far we're gonna lag behind. Alrighty,
Okay, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thanks, Cheryl. Good job, Cheryl.
Very good job.
Don't forget your mouse.
Got it on it. My mouse.
Yeah.
My mouse.
Thank you.
Before I move on, I wanted to mention one thing, this is the other from the staff report. Just to let everybody know, and the council, we're all apprised. Yeah, I know that those questions or those were brought to our attention about another access to Fisher's Peak. And I talked with Jade about it. And so I talked with the owners, and the owners said that they would not allow any access. And I think you guys all received emails from through me, through Mike. Just to let you know, this from the public's information, that was a no from the family to allow access. So that's just want to let the community know that took place. Library update.
Good evening, council. How are you guys?
Good, good.
I'm just here to kind of update you on the library. We have almost completed some repairs that happened from the flood last year. Our landscape is completed. We're about to put up the wrought iron gate in the back, so that should be done within the next 60 days. So that's looking good. We also have updated, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look, but we did a new website. A lot easier to use, it's streamlined, and along with that, we also did a logo that complements the city logo. We also got a Colorado State Library grant, that was about $6,000. And with those funds, I've been doing a complete overhaul of our collection. Updated our young adult collection, our children's collection. The big one was the juvenile graphic novels. We have about 340 books there, and in the past year we've had 840 checkouts of just that collection. So we've added those. I also added a couple new things that will be going out. We have some experience passes. If anybody's following us, we are now checking out tickets to go to see Main Street Live events on the weekends. So we have those. We are also working on rolling out trigger tickets. So with the grant money, we were able to provide experiences. And those could be cultural experiences, activities that people might not be able to go do if they don't have the funds. This might also increase their chance to go and buy tickets after they check one out early. We have a telescope bag and telescope books so that can be checked out. It won't roll out until probably later this summer, just because we're about to hit summer reading. And we also have a bird watching bag. So we're going to have binoculars, bird watching books, and a case set to keep those binoculars safe. And along that line, we have programs. So our big one is going to be our summer reading program. It is rolling out this weekend. We started registration, and as of today, we had 62 registered children. And registration doesn't end yet. So Saturday will be the last day. Last year we had 100 by the end of the summer, so I'm expecting us to get a lot more just because people want to come out. And so we are planning 17 events this summer, and they're a mix of indoor and outdoor events. So we got a lot of feedback last year. The outdoor events were fun. Got kids outside doing things, but we still want to bring them back into the library, so we're kind of doing a half and half thing. With the summer reading program, our kickoff event is this Saturday at Central Park from 3 to 5. And we have a lot of community involvement. We have the fire department will be there with an activity, so they'll have a little fire truck and they're gonna shoot the fire truck with them. We also have, hopefully Bob Holder, we have a lot of outdoor games. So we're gonna have cornhole, ladder golf, slammo, croquet. I don't know how to play croquet, but someone does. And then we're also gonna have, 3 little games for like the littles. So you're gonna have a ring toss, a beanbag toss, and a memory game with little rubber duckies in a pool. And we'll be offering from the Trinidad Community, Trinidad Community Foundation. They're gonna donate 2 bikes for 1 girl and 1 boy. So we'll have those out there. We have the Southern Colorado Family Center. They are staffing, that's the one I forgot. They're staffing an obstacle course with potato sack race and a egg race. So they'll be there. We have Head Start will have a table there, Earth Mountain Farm, Skateland, the Health Department, and Mount Carmel. So we have just a bunch of people in the community just come together. We'll be giving out popsicles. And it'll be that last chance to register, so we'll have a registration table. And we have some of the programs I think are going to be really fun. We have my favorite, it looks like a lot of fun, it's called the Sea of Foam by Ann Lincoln, and we'll have it at Central Park. And it's just a foam cannon. She's gonna shoot foam out in Central Park, and she's gonna have beach balls and music, and we're gonna suggest that they wear clothes that can get wetted. Safe, it's non-toxic, it's biodegradable, those kind of things. We also have Salida Circus, and we'll have some of those indoor events where we'll have Whale Day, Shark Day, and those kind of things. So I think that is it. I talk really fast and I hate public speaking, so I apologize.
No, just Jessica, you do a great job. Your enthusiasm just shines through, and you're a tremendous advocate and promoter for the Carnegie Public Library. Yes.
I can tell a difference. I've seen the articles in the paper and I've seen the postings on social media, and the outside of the library looks wonderful.
Those flowers came up amazing.
I know, but thank you so much. That's a big curriculum you got going.
I know you do a good job. You really do, and it's great. That's a really bright spot for Trinidad.
Ms. Ogletree?
Jessica, you are doing a phenomenal job, and it's just so exciting to see that resource being used in a way that's really benefiting the community. I just wondered, are you posting the events that you're hosting, all the things that you talked about, where are they posted in social media? Are they on our Facebook page, or are they on a special Facebook page for the library?
Yes, so the library does have their own Facebook page. So we have them on Facebook, we have them on our website, and then the registration is on an online platform, so they're also posted there. So when people register, they have access to those events as well. And then working with the Chronicle News as well.
And I'm looking forward to checking out your new website. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That's all.
And the radio station.
Yes, and the radio station.
Looks real good out there cosmetically, everything's coming together. I went to the website, it looks good. Did you put that together, or did you?
I worked with Christy Rogers. It was just something that that old website was hard to use. You couldn't find it. You couldn't find the online databases.
Yeah, it's kid friendly.
Yeah, it's kid friendly. Kids can get on it. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Jessica, thank you so much for your passion for what you do. It's very evident there, and it's also very evident in the community. I mean, I hear over and over people compliment the library, especially with your how zealous you are to serve the area. So thank you for what you do, and we're very grateful for that. Thank you.
I like your enthusiasm. It's good to see that there's a lot of stuff out there for the children this year.
Yes.
And that's one thing that people in the community have always been saying, why are there not more things for the children to be able to do? So I think that's good. And I know you've been talking to Christy Rogers, and we are updating the city website as well, so
Yes,
at some point, we will be able to integrate all that together so
absolutely.
that there'll be, we'll have more
A
information.
little
out there.
streamlined and
Yes.
it's gonna be easier.
I really thank you for a job well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
I got a question real quick.
Yes.
I saw that you guys are hiring for librarians, I guess. Did you guys ever get that sorted out or?
Yes, so the position closed on the 20th, and then we did interviews the following week, and we made a job offer, I wanna say Monday, and so it's Catherine Schmidt, she's gonna be starting on the 22nd of June. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Item 4, petitions or communications are all written. Mr. Murphy.
You know, it used to be when I walked up here, it was, uh-oh. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I'm Tom Murphy, for those that are watching that don't know me, from Hamburg, Trinidad Times TV. I have two things I want to address today. One, I asked you all a couple months ago, 3 months ago, to save a date, and that was August 12th and 13th. Since that time, my mother's had a health issue, and it's consumed a lot of my time. It is consuming a lot of my time. And I realized this weekend, as I've been kind of lining this out, that I'm overwhelmed, and there's just no way. If I had to pull this off, I would be able to do it. But I want it to go well, and so as I told the county commissioners this morning, I said, just want to postpone this for a year, because I've got a lot on my plate, and my mother is my priority. The second thing that I'd like to talk about, and this is just my 2 cents, it's about decorum. You know, 20-some years ago, I was asked to speak here about Cougar Canyon, and it was the worst time, the worst hour or two, wherever, that we were here that night. And if somebody had told me 20 years ago that I was going to end up spending more time than probably anybody in America at local government meetings, I'd have said you're crazy, because that was some of the worst time of my life. Coming up here and speaking is not my favorite thing to do. My favorite thing to do. And I realized as I was preparing for this that I'm the old guy in the room now. There's only 2 people that are on staff that have been here longer continuously than I have, filming and observing government. And I've observed city government, county government, school board, ambulance, cemetery. We've had more community meetings that I've filmed and been a part of in the last 17 years than I can even count. And I just want to offer my thoughts to both the council and to the public, because they participate in this, and it's just my observation. And because I am the old guy, and it's like I don't feel like I'm that old, but you can take my thoughts for, whatever you want. But in my observation of government, I've seen good government and bad government. And I've seen good behavior by public and bad behavior. I've been in meetings where it's almost become violent and emotion spills over. And I had 4 guys right outside the store waiting for me after one meeting. It didn't turn violent. We just had a little coup-d'etat and went about our business, because I wasn't going to let it turn into that. But I think council is headed in the right direction, and the city is so much better off. I lived through the recall wars. We had to go across the street for meetings. And the issues that we're talking about now, I understand the emotion that people have. I was at the front of it. I was the most vocal. And I had some battles with one of our previous mayors, but the one thing I learned, and I learned it a long, long time ago, is you can be angry, but you can't let your anger show. Because what happens, and this, whether it's here, the county, the school board, or whatever, and this is for the public, they shut down. Who's ever sitting on the board, and I've watched this for 17 years, through thousands and thousands of hours, the stuff that happened at the school board, the stuff that happened at the ambulance, the stuff that's happened here. This is just my advice. There were meetings where I would rant to my wife, Paula, before the meeting. She's like, maybe you shouldn't go. And it's like, no, I'm just doing this here. But I would keep my cool when I'm here because I'm just trying to tell people, it's like, they're not listening anymore once that comes across. For the council, you guys are headed in the right direction. And I participated in state government when they were trying to keep the nursing home open. And I also got a bill passed in 2012. And the decorum in those meetings were solid. And as I said to Mr. Downs, it's like being in a court of law. You don't just go in there and let it rip. It's all about, the keeping your cool and having decorum. It's kind of like, we used to go to church, we all dressed up. Or if we flew in a plane, we dressed up. I didn't. I went with a friend, back in '95, and he put on a suit and tie, and I'm like, or a coat and tie. It's like, what are you doing? He's like, this is the way I travel. You choose how you're going to behave. And so I just want to get across to everybody that what we're fighting about right now and the issues that have come up recently are minor. And we should be happy about where we're headed. As I said to someone recently, it's like, everybody's somewhat panicky a little bit about the marijuana, but the glass is half full or half empty. It's like if somebody owns a historic building, the buildings are fixed up. I know how much it costs. And that's one of the things that was discussed when this was happening. It's like, at least these buildings will be fixed up. And if we got to shift, we'll shift. And that's all I have. It's like, I never thought I'd be the old guy in the room, but I am. And I'm proud of where we are as a city government. And you guys get criticized, and you got to take it. But I just understand their passion. But if they let it go, people, you've lost you guys. Every meeting I've ever attended when that's happened, you just see the people shut down. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you.
But again, August 12th and 13th, we'll do that a year from then. Thank you.
Mr. Mackey?
How's everybody this afternoon, this evening? Beautiful weather, a little rain. The heavens have been good to us. First thing I'd like to talk about, of course, one of the things I've been involved in a lot of years is the river, the projects, and everything we've got going down there. And I'd like to invite everybody here to council, anybody else that would like to come down, to get a hold of one of us at some point in time. Let us walk you through what's been done down there. Recently, we've done the diversion point. The island is now done. We've got a project getting ready to put together for fish and boat passage. We have some ideas which we could use input from everybody for a recreation area down below the dam itself. So please come see what we've got done. If there's any questions or anything that you don't understand, we'll be more than happy to explain to you how we fund it, how we do the things we're doing, and our status of the river as it pertains to the state itself. With that said, I'd like to quote Mr. Shue, who a couple weeks ago made a very good statement, and that statement was, too many studies and no results. That's something that Trinidad has been known for. I've been guilty of it. We've all been guilty of it. And one of the things that we have to start doing, guys, and especially with tonight with the financials coming from the marijuana industry, that horse is starting to stumble a little. And we got a lot of money that ain't going to be coming to Trinidad like it used to. But Trinidad's been through this before. Railroads, coal bed methane, all these different things where we've had this push. We'll think we're the smartest people in the world, and all of a sudden it starts going away. So we have to make some decisions that may not be popular, but they're going to make us much better as a community. And one of the most glaring, whatever you want to call, problems is the fact that we take money and spend it on places we don't need to spend it. One of them I'm going to bring up tonight, you're all familiar with, is $200,000 that's been spent with, quote, experts outside of the community that really does not benefit Trinidad to the point that it should. Let's take a look at what we could do with that money if we were to say, let's give $100,000 towards sports for kids in the summer, recreational leagues, all the different things, all the processes, because they're going to be needing money to fund a lot of that different stuff. Let's take some of that money. Let's we're becoming a tourist community. Let's move it towards A.R. Mitchell Museum, a nationally, internationally known museum of art in downtown Trinidad. Who'd have thunk it? We could take some of that money, develop that even more. Let's develop more historical displays. They have a great penitente display. There's a artifact display that's floating around out there that would just be perfect for that for display there. And it's also a center point for the community. You know, how many functions have we all been down there? It's one of the best places in town to go do those kind of functions. I had some information tonight, and I'm glad she brought it up, the library. Kids, libraries, old farts like me that like to check out books. You know, the library has always been the center point of communities across the country. Two things, well, I'll say three things. City Hall, the library, and the post office. Let's put money into that library. A Carnegie Library. You know how many Carnegie libraries are supposed to end in America? Not very many. This is another piece of history that we cannot afford to lose. So let's take a look at this money when these grants come in. And I know there's the process to try to get more funding out there and all the other type of things that are going on out there. But there are things that we can do that we don't need to be spending that money in places we don't have to spend it. We've got experts in town.
1 minute. Sorry.
I like you too, but you're number one.
Sorry.
So,
Yeah.
once again, and Tom made, we get angry. Well, I think you misrepresented it. And Mr. Mayor and I had a conversation about it. People in this town are not angry. They're asking questions, and they need to have answers to those questions. Because you have a bunch of smart people there who want to see this town continue to move. And we're going to have some challenges that we all have to buck up and start trying to face, because we've got to have a whole different direction in the next few years. Because marijuana was good while it lasted, but so was coal, so was coal-bed methane, so was everything else. Let's put our thinking hats on and let's make this the best town it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez?
Good evening, council, Mr. Mayor, staff. Hello. Couple things I'd like to mention. First of all, pertaining to the ARPA board, we just had our recent meeting for the quarter. I would like to schedule a time to come and give a proper presentation on the agenda to you all to let you know what's going on. Again, I'm going to be going to the APPA National Conference. I'm leaving on this Sunday, and I'll be back on Wednesday after attending that, so that way I can be the best representative. I still have not heard back from anybody from City, though, pertaining to if there's going to be any other partners with me ever coming forward, or if we have someone from the staff side to be a part of the ARPA board. So again, that was from the last meeting when I was here, and I made that address, and yet I have not received any communication, which I find challenging. Okay. My next comment pertaining to trails. And I'm very glad that the mayor took time to make a comment earlier about the conversation he had with Mr. Montoya, I believe. Was there anyone else that you spoke with? Okay. Well, I come tonight to speak to you about the opportunity we could have here in Trinidad and Los Animas County for outdoor recreation. We have seen our shop at the out-of-town visitors who are making Trinidad their destination here now, and not just a place to stop and get fuel and provisions, which is very good for us. This is what we had always wanted. Trinidad is becoming a tourism destination, and the group that I have been working with has been advocating for the opportunity to have more trails in our community, whether they are here on Reservoir Hill, a mirroring image of the wormhole, or others going further towards Fisher's Peak State Park. It has been challenging since we no longer have a city planner to discuss these opportunities and have a city staffer to work directly with at this point in time, which is another thing. In a recent meeting, a group of angry property owners came before City Council here for a public policy section of the council meeting to discuss their disdain for any eminent domain of their property. That's not something that we ever discussed. But why did these owners feel the need to do so? I believe someone from the city incorrectly stated our vision to have a study and to see where an opportunity would be for a path for a trail. And I believe the mayor chose to use the words eminent domain in this portion of the meeting, as I recall. One group, the Chimino family, was spoken to after this meeting and was properly informed of the vision for a trail to Fisher's Peak. When they were correctly informed of our vision, they stated that they would not have come to speak against this vision that we have. So I was very shocked to hear that the mayor recently had a discussion with one in our group, that he asked to be the lead of contact for Mr. Montoya in Ingleville as a potential area to access Fisher's Peak. I have seen the mayor act as an opponent of this movement. I am curious now why he was asked to be the champion of said topic. I feel that the mayor is not the correct individual to do so, considering how he has used terms such as eminent domain incorrectly and inappropriately to property owners. I feel that he was the wrong individual to have this discussion, which I have found out has led to a hard no from Mr. Montoya, which was just reflected earlier for some interesting reason. Mr. Montoya even wrote a letter to demonstrate his opposition. And I'm wondering why he would feel a need to write a letter. I'm not sure, but I do feel that the mayor is trying to derail this effort for reasons only he is aware of. I hope that he didn't act as a lone wolf to sabotage this movement that is highly, highly supported by the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Hotlett.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. We've got some handouts for you. This is the 2017.
I've got one, I've read it again.
This is the 2017.
I don't need it.
That's somewhat disrespectful, Mayor. Decorum. There are some things in that keep on being brought up by citizens that we need to look at. And if you have one of these things and it's collected dust or it's not been read in a while, you need to, because there are 4 things I'd like to kind of address. There's a DOLA study going on right now for outdoor recreation. Thankfully, the Trinidad Community Foundation has helped remind the council that you empowered them to do things because you were busy. And so they spent 100 and some hours going through public good in order to fund things. And so you have community help there. So I'd like to propose maybe that there's more community help. I understand the 13th of June, there's a cannabis, Rusty Goodall was here and he did that. So there's 4 kind of legs of the chair that I think we can work on, and they're addressed in the 2017 comprehensive plan with an implementation portion of that in Chapter 8. So the cannabis industry right now, and the finance director does a great job, by the way, but things are changing, and they're changing faster, and I'd like for us to act with a little more sense of urgency. Cannabis industry, those in our industry who are in this business, they're the experts in that business. No one here on the council is. It's hard to argue the enhancements in the community and the buildings, infrastructure, and public spending have happened in large part because of that industry. Pages 53 and 54 of the 2017 Comprehensive Plan provides action steps and responsible parties. My suggestion, create a cannabis task force with local industry leaders to work with city leaders and staff to get ahead of things. I personally asked Rusty Goodall to take a lead position. Rusty knows other leaders in the sector who should have a seat at this table. June 13th work session would be a great place to recruit those civic leaders from. Outdoor recreation. We could own this space with all the assets Trinidad and our regions have. See page 61 and 65 of the 2017 Comprehensive Plan for Action Steps and Responsible Parties. My suggestion, create an outdoor recreation economic task force with industry leaders to work with city leaders and staff to build out this industry. I personally would suggest you look at Howard Lackey, Carlos and Lee Lopez, Tim Chrysler, Jennifer Green, Juan Del Roca, to name a few, to fill the champion positions that you'll find in the implementation plan. The implementation plan has a city playing a role, has leads playing a role, and has champions playing a role. It's spelled out there, has been since 2017. And I understand people have that, Mayor, but you're not looking at it and you're not following it. And there was hundreds of thousands of dollars spent during that time. There were 50 individuals and 30 organizations in that plan. I don't know if you can get more comprehensive than that. It's so granular that it's the guidebook that you should be following. The creative class. The city and state already have made large investments in this industry, and we have attracted artists, makers, and producers from across the country. People have uprooted themselves to come here in the promise that we've provided to them. Pages 56 and 57 of the 2017 Comprehensive Plan provides action steps and responsible parties. My suggestion, the mayor and Carlos and several people were on that. Their names are in here. They were part of those 50 people. They were elected officials to help them make it happen. My suggestion, this one might be easier. Empowering our current art-focused organizations to fulfill and enhance what's laid out in the comp plan. We have the talent and passion in this community, within this community, to do great things. They're already here. They're assembled. You just need to empower them. And the comprehensive plan says to do that. You're supposed to be doing that. The creative class can be credited with doing more to enhance blighted and forgotten community space than any other initiative, including all government initiatives. Go look at Lodo, look at Highlands, look at the places where it was blighted and it's not blighted anymore. Housing. We need, frankly, we need to do this, and it should have been number one, but we need to actually start moving forward on this because all other opportunities and all other items fall under housing. And so if you look at page 56 to 60 of the 2017 Comprehensive Plan, you'll find action steps and responsible parties. In order to accomplish all the things the community wants, you should follow the comprehensive plan and bring the community together. The community said do this. Pat Howlett is not coming up with anything new. The community says it. So if you have this plan, bring it back out. If you don't have it, I really want you to look at this and go through it because it'll actually help you, help the community hit the points that we want to hit. And it's okay to bring people forward. You did it with the Grand County, with the Trinidad Community Foundation. We've done it in other areas. There are experts in outdoor recreation, in cannabis, and the art and creative class economy that you can put to work to make. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Mr. Zichas?
Well, we're 5 months since y'all approved my liquor license application, since it was approved by the state of Colorado. Interesting, as I prepare for tonight, being here now, the date April 13, 1993 comes. It was my 33rd birthday. It was also the date the city charter was signed. That's right. 29 years ago that was. Under this charter, the council will be responsible to the people. Will have all the legislative powers, will enact ordinances, resolutions, and motions for the good government of the city. All ordinances now in effect, and it carries on. I'm just amazed at how I go through this 5 months so far. And I understand a lot of you people are very busy and you virtually donate your time to be here to serve on city council. And Mr. Mayor, I understand this is your last term, so that means you've been here for quite a long time. But this is only an example where there's a break or the system is broken. How come? And you can read on and on in the charter. How come city council can't tell the city manager to do his job? How come the city manager can't tell the city clerk, follow what it says in the city charter? Remember, the last time I was here, I gave a definition of abuse of power. I remember when Greg Sund, and I'll tell you right now, I don't know the details and the facts of why that city manager got pushed out. I heard stories, and for this conversation, it doesn't make a difference. But to me, I wonder, why not the current city manager for failing to perform his duties according to the charter and what you all approved, my liquor license? And then why hasn't the city manager fired the city clerk? Oh, and it's okay. You think the whole world is all built around?
Mr. Zichas, would you please refrain from directing directly to some of the names? If you want to reword it, that's fine, but be careful.
Okay, sir, are you saying, I'd like you to stop the clock. Are you saying don't use the person's name,
Yes.
use the title?
If you want to use a title, that's fine, but I think the names, you gotta be careful, I'm just.
Because I mentioned the previous city manager's name. Duly noted. Sir, you can continue on the clock as you find. Why hasn't the city manager fired the current city clerk for not performing the duties? How does Sky Tallman get fired for whatever this
There you
guy?
go again, please.
Excuse me, you're right. Let me correct myself. How does the previous,
One more time, we'll have to shut you down.
thank you, sir. How does the current, the recent city planner get fired or removed from office? I can't imagine what this individual did when I've got pages of typed notes, dates, all wrapped around just my case. And I've talked to plenty of people in the community who tell me, oh, it's been going on for years. I guess 29 years is what I'm guessing. How does this continue? How can you all sit there and presumably do your job when the charter says what your job is not getting done? I'm confused. Yes, sir, these are rhetorical questions. Valid, certainly valid. Okay, sorry. April 7th, 2020, happened to be my father's birthday, by the way. Stephen Hammer announces he has reached a settlement with the city of Trinidad and a years-long legal battle over accessibility of sidewalks. Yet last year, on the water main project that was performed on Santa Fe Trail, with all the new ADA accessibility and accountability, why are there 3 power poles placed in the middle of these sidewalks? Why isn't the city manager fired for that one? It's amazing to me. I just don't get it. Imagine this for a moment. A 10-year-old child, boy or girl, doesn't matter. For this, I'll use boy. Leaves the city swimming pool and every day rides his bike home from the pool, and he takes a ride on Jefferson, climbs up the big hill, goes down Grant, goes down Animas, and he goes on his way home. But one day, he says, you know what, I'm gonna go another way. And he makes a left on Jefferson, and he goes all the way down to Santa Fe Trail, and he takes a right, and he's heading, oh man, it's downhill, he's riding his bicycle, he's having a great time. And just about the time he's abeam the city manager's house, and he's on the sidewalk, something happens. A bird flies by, somebody beeps the horn, it distracts this boy's attention. You know what it's gonna do? He's gonna run right into that telephone pole.
1 minute, sir.
I don't understand how it is you're in years-long lawsuit over ADA compliance, yet there last year put in 3 telephone poles. And yet at the same time, unofficially, somebody tells me I gotta put in the ADA bathrooms before I get a liquor license. When 1, it's not even within their jurisdiction to demand that. And 2, how can you on one side tell me to do something and you're not even following your own after you were sued for it? It's settled. Okay. So, I know it's all rhetorical, because oh, I guess I only have 1 minute now, probably 30 seconds.
You have about 15 seconds.
15 seconds, okay. There's more, but we'll save that for the next meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Jimenez?
Good evening, everybody. I live at the South Park, by the softball fields. My family's been harassed. I've been here before. I don't know, I'm just crossing my, dotting my I's, crossing my T's, letting you guys know that my family's in danger. I've been to Chief Lorenzo. I've been everywhere. I've talked to CBI. It's a group of people coming after my family. They follow my wife, they follow me. I'm just overwhelmed. So that's what I'm here. I have a letter. Did I pass it around?
Give it to, clerk there, so she got it.
Can you read that?
Do you want me to read it
Yes,
aloud?
please, yes.
Okay, is that all right, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. It is with a great deal of pleasure that I write this letter of recommendation for Salvador Jimenez. I have known Salvador for a number of years. Excuse me. During that time, I have noticed that he is very proud of living in the city of Trinidad. He lives near a softball field on the south side of Trinidad. He takes care of the area around the field, keeping it clean and watching that the area is safe for whoever plays there. Salvador is very proud of the way he works to keep and informs the city workers of any problems in that area. There are not many citizens that work hard to help keep this area clean around his and the city property. Sincerely, Joseph A. Riorda, former mayor.
Okay.
So, thank you, yes, keep it.
Is there a date on that?
No.
I didn't see
No,
it.
there's no date. It's been about 3 or 4 years. I've even talked to you about it. People thought in San Diego, I caught a terrorist. That's why I'm here. I feel like you should be protected. I did my part. I'm a patriot. If something goes wrong in this town, I get hurt, my family, it ain't gonna look good for the city. You know what I'm saying? The media will eat it up. I'm trying to stop it. That's all. Cut it short. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to item 5, consent agenda approval. Item 5A, approve the regular meeting minutes of May 17, 2022, and special meeting minutes of May 23, 2022. Item B, approval of special event permit application, Waltz English and Spiritualist, followed by the Benevolent and Protective Order of the Alps, Lodge 181 at 120 South Maple, on June the 24th and June the 25th, 2022. Mr. Clint Chavez, or is there a representative here?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You don't need to come, I just wanted to get your present. Item C, approval of special event permit applications, Waltz English and Spiritualist, filed by Trinidad and Los Angeles County Chamber of Commerce at 301 East Elm Street, Los Niños Park, on June 17th and 18th, 2022, for Santa Fe Trail Festival. Anyone here? Never, you're here? Thank you for being here. Item D, approval of consulting agreement for lobbying services between the city and 52A Strategies LLC. That is Mr. Mike Beasley, who will be taking over and approved from Debbie Wagner tonight as a lobbyist. This is the last one for Ms. Wagner, and he's been working with us so far under her contract. Item E, approval of the bills for $3,454,465.96. Item F, approval of the payroll, May 28th, 2022 through June the 10th, 2022 for $422,978.90. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Call vote?
DeBono?
Yes.
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 6, public hearings. 6A, reschedule public hearing for consideration of an ordinance amending section 7-52 of Article 8, purchases of Chapter 7, finance and taxation regarding formal bids to 6 p.m. on June the 21st. City clerk has recommended that we reschedule that. Need a motion for reschedule?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call vote?
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 6B, public hearing for consideration of an ordinance regarding the provision of natural gas service by the Trinidad Municipal Natural Gas Department and increasing the gas meter and building charge, gas delivery charge, and the gas supply charge applicable to all customer service classifications. Hearing is now open. Mr. Crowe?
Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm here to ask for your consideration for a gas rate increase. Due to the volatility of the natural gas rates now, I feel we should be proactive and not reactive at this time. We're also considering to add some kind of wording in our gas tariff for residences that are used for commercial purposes. So that's also a consideration. And I think on Zoom we have, should have Andrew Ross. He was our consultant in the rate study. And I believe he was.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Andrew, could you explain a little bit why we're doing the rate study and the rate increase here?
Sure, absolutely. Just thanks for the time, and I hate talking out of a box. I apologize for that. I was going to be there in person, but like someone mentioned earlier, I have a parent that I'm taking care of as well. So I'm doing this remotely, and I appreciate your flexibility on that. Last time I was here, well, first off, my name is Andrew Ross. I'm director of NMPP Energy. It is a nonprofit organization that serves municipals and utility-related services in both regulation and finance. I was there in person in December, and we talked about electricity and natural gas, and I have no problem saying when we're wrong, we're wrong. We mentioned on the natural gas side, we spent most of our time on the electric side. On the natural gas side, we talked about the gas utility being in good shape, and we knew that natural gas prices were very low. We anticipated them increasing, but not at this level, at this pace. So I can sit here and give you a lot of reasons regarding inflation and certain things driving natural gas, but I've got some data points that'll make things maybe a little more clear. When I was back there in December, natural gas was trending just under $4 per MMBTU, and it had hung there for a long time, and even dropped below $3 years ago. All fast forward all the way down, those prices hung out until about February, and in February 24th, Russia decided to invade Ukraine, as you're well aware. That in itself was about a $1 increase, which represents about 20 to 25% increase on natural gas prices, but still at historically low levels. What really kicked in then was in late March, mid-March, the United States, the White House declared that to relieve Europe's dependency on Russian oil and natural gas, that America would export and start sending Europe natural gas reserves. Well, supply and demand causes that to what's good for Europe and maybe weaning them off of Russia drives up the global price of that commodity. And to give you some kind of impact on that, at about mid-March, that $4 natural gas from mid-March to basically the beginning of April, it went up from about $4 or $5 to about $8. So now we're starting to see prices that we have seen before, but definitely higher and faster than we anticipated. Certainly we did not forecast the geopolitical storm of Russia. Fast forward to today, we're now past 100 days in the war, and natural gas prices are now well over $8, nearing $9, which makes it the highest natural gas prices in the last 13 years. So, you know, it sounds like a scapegoat to blame Russia, but it's in this case very true. So the bad news is, back in December when I was there, we did not have this information, and so we did not anticipate a need for an adjustment. The good news is that Trinidad has sufficient and healthy reserves, and the finances are in a decent enough shape that we don't have to have a knee-jerk reaction to this, but as Steve said, we should be proactive. And so we're recommending adjusting rates globally at a 6.7% adjustment for July 1st or when you see fit. But this will still utilize some cash reserves that Trinidad has. We will be over about a 5-year period with this rate track utilizing over $1 million of rate stabilization. The utility can handle that, and we can spread this out and see if these rates continue. Hopefully they don't continue to increase, but we should be thinking that they might be here to stay. So that's the short end of it. I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'm happy to come there in future meetings. But the short end of this is, 6 months ago, we didn't have a war that was really shaking up oil and natural gas prices. Now we do, and we're trying to get ahead of it with a 6.7% adjustment. We're looking at a potential another adjustment in January of 2023, but we'll continue to monitor this. But again, the good news is there are healthy reserves. The natural gas market is very volatile, so in times of lower prices, there were some reserves built up that can now be used for rate stabilization. And I guess with that, I'll pause for any questions.
Any additional information, Mr. Crowe?
No, that's about something that.
I'll turn it over to council in a minute, but I just wanted to make sure, and I'll put these back out there, if anybody wants to pick one up, it will show that if we do not do anything, the deficit that we will be running this year, I think this year or the next couple of years, if we don't do some sort of a rate increase. So I'll place this out there for any of you that want to pick this up on your way out, so that you can see. Let's go ahead and turn it over to council. Any questions?
Steve, a lot of variables, but how long approximately will the reserves, will the city have reserves for?
Well, let's say if we kind of stay at the area we're going now, I think it's like 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years.
Is what we can go. We're gonna have to gradually make increases, like Andrew said, that again in January, we'll look at it again.
So if nothing else changes, would the city exhaust all of these reserves?
We won't exhaust all of them. We'll exhaust down to a level where we.
Percentage.
Yes, where we could still function and meet our operations and maintenance.
Okay.
So we won't exhaust all of them. We'll keep some in there.
Sarah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, things may change in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe worse, may get better, hopefully.
To continue on with what Councilman DeBona said, is there a minimum reserve that is there any minimum required?
I believe it's, and again, Andrew, if you step in, I think it's like a $1.5 million reserve that we'd like to.
Yeah, it's a great question. We do just develop a cash reserve policy for the electric utility as well as the natural gas utility. It's formulaic, so it changes year to year. But Steve is correct. It's about 1 to 1. It's about 1 to 1.4 million, depending on the year. But keep in mind that's a floor. When you drop below that, that means we need to have an adjustment right away. So having reserves above that amount is okay, especially in times like this when you can use some of it to stabilize rates.
And I know this has been in the paperwork that we've discussed over the past couple weeks and meetings, but I know there's some private individuals that are concerned about this in the audience. So just reiterate, Steve, that residential rates are, this is, the 6.7 is an average.
It's an average between both rates.
So explain again what the residential rate
The
is.
delivery charge and the supply charge will be the same for residential and commercial.
Okay.
It's the meter and billing that's gonna be a little bit different.
Okay.
So the meter and billing charge for the residential, it's a fixed rate, monthly rate. It's $9.60 right now for residential and commercial. So residential will be an increase of $1.40, which will be $11 a month. And for commercial, it'll be an increase of $13.05, which will be $22.65 a month. And that's a fixed rate, and that covers our equipment as far as meters, regulators, risers, valves, and stuff that's required for the maintenance and operations of
The
residential, commercial.
The actual rate we're charging residential customer, their increase is gonna be less. I thought it was like 2-something%.
Well, that's what it is right there. No, it's 5.3% residential and 8.7 for commercial. And the difference is right there in the meter and billing.
Okay.
The supply and the delivery charge stays the same for residential or commercial.
Okay. One more question, sorry. You said something about private residences use.
That's in our gas tariff. We want to change some of the wording to make it a little more understanding with the problem we're having right now is residences that turn into some commercial businesses, hair salons and stuff like that.
I see.
And our tariff didn't specify exactly how we charge that business, resident or commercial business. So what we're adding in there is if the commercial portion of the residence exceeds 50% of the residents, they will be charged a commercial rate. If it's less than 50% of the residents, they'll be charged a resident rate.
Sounds good.
So that's how we're just changing the wording.
Steve, on our delivery, we have a contract for that where we won't go up on anything on the delivery for the gas?
The delivery and the supply work together.
So we could get an increase on that?
It's going to increase right now, yes. Delivery is increasing our delivery charge. You mean transportation?
Yeah.
Actually, this helped us a little. We had, I believe it was a 13% decrease in our transportation costs. So that was all incorporated into this rate study. That took effect, I believe, in June. June it started to take effect. So that was in this rate study that we have a decrease in our transportation costs.
And I don't know if this is relevant to that, but have we done anything with tapping into the Walsenburg line where we wanted to do that?
No, we're still in the process of trying to work on that. That won't affect this at all because it's coming from the same supplier. So it won't affect anything, no. That's just trying to get more supply at the north end of town.
Yeah, that's
all that will be doing.
Okay.
Ms. Ogletree, do you have any questions?
I'm wondering if there are any state programs for utility support that might be available to Trinidadians. I'm just thinking it's something we might want to have our grant writer look into to see if there's anything available, because I doubt we're the only community in Colorado who's having to do this. And for a lot of people, this is tough. Even though it's a moderate rise, it's a tough thing. So I just think we should be watching for that. Otherwise, I think you both did a great job with your explanation of what's going on, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Question. Well, I heard him bring up the war in Russia. Is that directly tied into why the gas prices are spiking? And what's the price of a barrel of oil these days versus 100 days ago?
120 bucks.
120 bucks?
I don't know what the oil, yeah, a barrel.
And what was it before the war? Okay.
Yeah, most of this is because of the Ukraine war.
When we had, thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah.
When we reviewed this the first time, those, you brought forward the expected average increase. Those numbers haven't changed, and this is the same.
From NIMEX, or is it? No, the increase in rate study?
Correct.
Yeah, they're the same.
I agree with what Councilwoman Ogletree said. I mean, this is moderate increase. It's a necessary increase, unfortunately. I do think we, as a city, have done our best due diligence to ensure that it's the least onerous that it has to be. That being said, it is still an increase. I wanted to take this opportunity to again mention, commend the decision for the storage. I think that's played a huge part in not having this be a larger impact to ratepayers. And to that end, I wanted to ask, what is the current storage capacity? How far are we back to refilling that?
We're getting close. I think we're somewhere around, well, we can start filling up back in April.
Yeah.
So And we don't have a say-so in it, that's our transportation company, CIG, that tells us how much gas we can put into storage per month.
But it's anticipated to be full before the
We
next.
should be, yes.
Okay.
We should by October, we should be up to capacity,
Okay.
or close to it.
I have no further questions.
You know, I guess the biggest thing is, and I know that, you know, citizens are concerned about even the minimal rate increase that we have. But if we don't do anything now, in a year or two, we're gonna get hit with it regardless.
So big, yeah.
And then that's when, you know, it's gonna be huge. And
Yeah,
at least
there's
this will be incrementally. And that's why I had staff make copies of what those deficits are showing now and for the next couple of years. And if we go along the plan that we have now, those deficits will decrease over the next couple of years rather than increase if we do nothing. So that's, just wanted to.
Yeah, we're trying to
bring that
just move up slowly
Exactly.
on a big hit on our customers.
Okay, well, thank you for the information. Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience wants to speak for or against the ordinance change of natural gas? Step forward, state your name.
I'm Bernadette Cisneros, and I'm a citizen. And I just came to hear why the gas is going up, and it's very, he explained it very well, but I agreed with, what is her name?
Councilman Ogletree.
Okay, where she said to also check, even though it sounds like, okay, 6%, or it's only going up from $9 to $11, there's middle-class people out there that need help. You know, it's okay, if it goes up, you have where there's the low income, where they could get help. You have the ones at higher income, they have enough money. But you have the middle class, that 10% or what is it, 6%, well, it actually almost comes up to 10% by the time you figure from the $9.50 to $11. So that's what, $1, almost $2. So my thought is to also think of that, of the increase for middle class people. That's just my thought. Okay?
Thank you. You know, I know that we here on DAS, we don't like to come up with increases in anything. Unfortunately, sometimes we get up with it. Anyone else?
This is kind of unusual territory for me, but thank you guys for, hope you're having a good evening. The thing that bothers me is that there's a lot of people in this community that are on a fixed income, and you keep raising that. I realize prices everywhere. These people are there, and some of them are even hurting now, and a dollar may not sound much to a lot of people. $1.50 might sound to a lot of people. These guys, it's going to be devastating for these people, and I know it's kind of shocked that we're paying for the war in Russia, but I just think that there'll be another avenue, or whether it's, I don't know, from the state or from the federal, or somewhere, to where they can cover this increase. You know, I know that council can't cover this increase, and it doesn't, but I would like to see something done down that line. The citizens of this community don't deserve to be hit with any increase at all, especially utilities. And I think utilities are high enough as they are. So I would ask to maybe look at other avenues or whatever the answer is. We can't continue this. I know a lot of people that are hurting now. And I appreciate your looking at other areas, if you would. Thank you.
For the record, that was Mr. Bill Nucci.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, just want to make sure that we have that for the record. That's,
Bill Nucci, I'm sorry.
thank you, sir. Don't hold it against me now.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Dennis Steiner, hello, Council.
Thank you, good evening.
The question I have is, one, is this a temporary increase? One, or is, I didn't get to read it.
What we're hoping for is like, so we gotta do this increase incrementally, and we don't know, hopefully in maybe another year or two, maybe this mess with Russia will subside and maybe we'll see some decreases, so.
That's the other thing that bothers me about the statement of our lobbyist, or the one who was speaking on the monitor there. To blame all this on the Ukraine war seems a little bit one-sided. Look, I think it's administration from White House leadership has caused this inflation and rise, and his views on natural gas and the oil industry, and leading towards this green energy situation too fast. Why has it not been mentioned with our person who was speaking about this? The reason why, the increase in general in our economy. Our economy is going down the brink because of leadership in this country. That's my feeling, but mainly, is this a temporary? You say long-term, that's long-term, 1, 2, 3 years to me.
Well,
temporary is for this summer, for this month. Not for, and how do we reverse this once it's already, it's approved? How is it reversed in the future, quickly?
Well, it's kind of like the same process that we have now. If we see a reduction, it's brought to us by Mr. Crow and staff and say, the price of gas has come down, and then the council that's in place at the time will take appropriate action.
So possibly November, after the election, the change in our government, we'll see all of a sudden an immediate swing in the price of energy.
Yeah, we can predict.
If we knew the answer to that, we'd be all millionaires.
Well, you see my point of.
No, I understand.
This here, too fast, too soon in leadership in this country for going green. And I must say, I had an electric car, my little red, yellow buggy, a little gem car running through the neighborhood for years before it was popular to go green. And I lived my life all since the 70s with that respect, which was my parents, who were Depression babies and had a large family. They taught us how to be frugal, live within your means. Okay, thank you, Ken.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Not? Hearing is closed. Item 6B1, first reading of an ordinance regarding the provision of natural gas service by the Trinidad Municipal Natural Gas Department, and increasing the gas meter ability to charge gas from the charge, and the gas supply charge to go to all concerned customer service classifications, and setting a hearing date for consideration of said ordinance to 6 p.m. on June the 21st, 2022. Need someone to introduce?
I'll introduce.
Entertain a motion?
Motion.
Second? Any additional discussion? There's no further discussion, call a vote please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 7, unfinished business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. 8A, resolution adopting the Los Angeles County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Entertain the motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion, Ms. Garrett?
So Mayor, as City Council, as the Council Communication indicates, Los Angeles County has been working to update their hazard mitigation plan. The city participated in their previous
written plan, and we're participating in this one as well. It will assist the agencies who have participated in FEMA grants should the need arise. And obviously it's a good practice to try to mitigate any hazards that we possibly can and understand what our resources are if something were to happen.
Okay. I think we have Chief Backrack. I know you've been involved with some of these. Do you have anything that you'd like to add to this?
No, sir.
Okay.
Me and Audra were tirelessly on this project.
Council have any questions?
No,
I do.
Go ahead.
Mayor, I just had a comment. I did my best to review 350 pages, and I got about halfway through. I noticed there's no involvement of Trinidad State College in this, and I just wondered if someone could shed some light on why that is. It's only mentioned one time as a major employer, and they didn't put the right name down. They included the junior, and it's no longer a junior college. So I just wondered if do they have a separate emergency kind of plan, or are they not involved in this as a player or a stakeholder?
Mr. Backrack, do you have an answer to that, or?
Maybe Audra.
Audra?
The hazard mitigation plan is based on communities as opposed to entities. So it's community-wide. It was Aguilar, certain fire districts, and actual communities that are not entities. The idea is that Trinidad needs to know what its resources are, what its hazards are, what the potentials for those hazards are, just as other areas would, like the overall regional lockdown in the county. But the college itself doesn't have a responsibility necessarily to the entire community to look at the mitigations that should be mitigated, the hazards that should be mitigated.
Thank you, Audra. I just wondered, they have the stakeholders who were notified, and among them were the hospital, Holy Trinity Academy, Grace Christian, Pinion Canyon, but I just wondered why they weren't included in this conversation, that's all.
Okay, so I guess my answer to that is simply that it was up to the county to contact those stakeholders, not the city.
Okay, well, all right.
No questions.
No questions.
I was involved with a couple of meetings on this hazard mitigation, and a lot of work. A lot of work to it, a lot of discussion. I think I was at the two meetings, it was probably a good, 6 hours, Mr. Backrack, at least?
Yeah, I think so.
Just a discussion as to what are hazards, the various hazards that we have, what we potentially have. And of course, the big thing is now with the climate change, the fires, even how do we handle issues? Let's say there's we have freight that goes to Trinidad. If there's some sort of a hazardous train wreck, how's that handled? So it really gets pretty involved. And I think they've done a pretty good job. And I think maybe a question is maybe they just omitted that by accident. We could ask them. And you were saying that the junior part of that, and I think this might have been written, finalized maybe even before before that the junior was voted on. I'm not really sure about that. So I don't know what's the date on that. But anyway, just would say that I think they've done a pretty good job of it. I looked it over, and there's a lot of pages to read. So. Okay. Any other questions? Call a vote, please.
DeBono?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Item 8B, resolution authorizing expenditure of marijuana revenue received by the city of Trinidad first quarter of 2022. Entertain a motion. Second. Discussion, Ms. Navarette.
So before you is resolution number 1614. It's
authorizing the expenditure of first quarter 2022 marijuana revenues, which we collected $749,463. During the work session a couple weeks ago, staff presented the requests for the 65% share, and those requests tallied up to $389,651. The reserves share, or 30%, is $179,839. The 4% share for incentives is $23,978. And outside agencies funding, 1% share is $5,995, for a total of $749,463.
For the audience, the outside agencies, that's what goes to the Trinity Community Foundation so that they can fund some of the nonprofits. Questions from council? Mr. DeBona.
Aye, Mr. Mayor.
Boards, did you give us the information on the historic preservation? Refresh my memory, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Do you know when?
I don't have it.
That's
It would
okay.
be in your drive.
Okay, I'll look.
I think some of it was for landmarking,
Okay,
travel. I don't.
okay, that's okay. It's not, I'll go back and look. So is it possible, remember when we were talking about this in the work session, you gave us all the applications? Can we continue doing that?
Of course, yes.
I really like that because that gives me an idea of what this money, how you come to that.
Yes, we intend to do so.
Okay, thank you, Cheryl.
No questions from me.
So, do you have any questions?
Hey, Ms. Griego, I think what it was is the Historic Preservation Commission needs to landmark more buildings in the city in order to stay in line with the certified local government requirements, so that it was to pay for studies of those buildings, I think. And then I had asked a question about the city interactive stools that I didn't get an answer on, and I'm not going to oppose it on this basis, but I really would like to see if we're going to have any kind of tourism or marketing kind of approach, that it's part of an overall plan of what we're doing in terms of marketing, and also that we're first looking at our local artists to do anything like this rather than an outside vendor to buy these kind of things from, because I think I'm not really sure where these will be coming from, but I think it would be better if they were Trinidad themed and that they were made by local artists, and that's all I had to say about that.
No question.
I have no further questions other than we've already covered it.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Thank you. Call vote, please.
DeBona?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman? Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Council reports. Mr. DeBona.
The Los Angeles County Veterans Council is having a dance this Saturday night, 8 to midnight. Jerry Dean with Christian Sanchez at Fort Wooten Memorial Square. Jerry Dean is the son of Al Hurricane, in case people don't know. So, Al Hurricane was always a favorite here. Yeah, it was in the 70s and 80s. But my dad and I did security for some of those weddings across the street. A couple thousand people would show up.
Wow.
No, that might be a little exaggeration. There were a lot of people.
Yeah, there were a lot of people.
That's all I have.
I did attend the Historic Main Street Board meeting virtually. They're continuing with the banner program, the postcards that we got that we needed. That's the art that's going to be on the banners downtown. And they're going to interchange those during the holiday season. Take some of them off and put holiday appropriate banners downtown to just kind of dress up the historic district. They had a plan of action presented with Matt Ashby from Ayers and Associates. They're trying to get some kind of collaboration between TURA, the Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority, and Historic Main Street to kind of combine forces, so to speak, to get facade improvement. Tura does mostly structural improvement. Historic Main Street is trying to do cosmetic changes, but I think maybe they're going to try and get together to see if there's some commonality between the two programs. And that be it.
No, I don't have anything at this time. So, Coach, anything to report?
Neither board nor commission that I'm on, a liaison to met in the last few weeks. They have meetings coming up on Thursday, so I'll have a report on that. A constituent sent me a link today to a Colorado Parks and Wildlife program that's a grant to help cities that are dealing with bear-human interaction. And I think the deadline's passed for this year, but it's something that would be good for us to watch for in the future because it could help fund things like bear-proof garbage containers. And so the whole thing is designed to decrease the interaction between people and bears, and I think it's a good idea, so I think we should watch for that.
Okay.
Nothing to report right now.
From here, we had a TPR meeting, I believe it was last week, and following that, there was a Southern Colorado Council of Government meeting pertaining to both of those. An agency came forward and asked the Council of Governments to administer a grant that's going to be improving. There's going to be improvements rolled out along Highway 12 in conjunction with its recognition as historic scenic byway. That being said, I believe there's going to be an approach for some amount of matching funds from the city. We can take it offline, but I just wanted to give you and council and staff a heads up to that. So, okay. That is all that I have.
Okay. I attended the first year anniversary for the new Alpine a couple of weeks ago, got invited to that, and it was pretty interesting the way the safety issues that they use right now compared to when my dad was a miner. It was interesting, they monitor the gas. I guess they carry a little monitor about so big on their lapel. And if they're in an area there's extreme gas, they're alerted immediately by someone back at the office. They also have a canister that will allow them to, for oxygen, for I think it's 30 minutes or is it for 2 hours? I'm not really sure what the time frame is. The other thing that they have is, as we know, they use continuous miners, and these are guys that are operating at the face of the coal. And let's say somebody gets too close to the face of that coal, somehow or other, that continuous miner, I think, gets shut down.
Is that M-shot or OSHA? That's M-shot.
That's M-shot, I think that's what it is. So, they're doing some really neat things for the safety of the miners. So, but it was interesting the way they explained the whole process of mining, so it was kind of strange.
So the canaries are out of it.
Yeah, the canaries are safe for the time being.
Yeah.
I attended the Scenic Highway of Legends thing ribbon cutting that they had down here, well attended. It was done very well. And also attended the Memorial Day ceremonies last week. And of course, that was the 3 cemeteries, Catholic, the Masonic, and down at the Welcome Center. And the one at the Welcome Center is always pretty well attended. And people that do that do a tremendous job for Memorial Day. I was asked to speak to the Rotary Club a week and a half ago, and an idea was brought up, and I thought I'd bring it to council because they want to, in conjunction with the city of Trinidad, work on beautification of some sort up and down Colorado Avenue. They feel that that is a premier area that people look at, and they're willing to, I guess, even put in some money, look for a grant. I was talking to Dr. Epper about that. I've had a conversation with her, so just want to let council know that, and nothing crazy. one of the things that actually she brought up is that we know that it's a pretty long street. And one of the recommendations is maybe to xeriscape, maybe like every other pod. And then maybe the other one, you could leave it grass. Maybe put some, on the power poles or something, maybe put a couple of planters up to make it look attractive. So there's some thoughts, so I just thought I'd let council know, and then I'll talk to Dr. Repper a little bit more and see what else they want to consider. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, we hear a lot from you citizens out there on our meetings, and during our communications with you, we listen to you and we don't respond. And a lot of times it leaves you with the feeling of why don't they respond? And that's just the way that it is put into our agendas, the way it is. And it's not only the city of Trinidad, this is done all across the state. So I feel like there are certain things that are lingering out there by the citizens of Trinidad. So what I'm proposing to do is on either the whatever's available, the 22nd or the 23rd of this month, I'd like to have a forum for the community, for the citizens of Trinidad to come forward and talk to us, have a conversation. This is not going to be a council bashing. This is not going to be a staff bashing. Hopefully council will be there. I will be there. I'm asking some of our staff to be there as well. But there's going to be some rules that will be in place so that we don't get any of that mess going on. Because I will say this, if it starts going off the rails, I just will have to shut it down. But I would hope that the citizens will bring their questions so that we as council can answer them appropriately in a fair manner, back and forth, just to see what kind of ideas that we can come up with. Bring your thoughts, bring your considerations. That's what I'm asking for. And I think this would kind of maybe alleviate some of the issues and the tensions that we're having, in the community with council right now. So the 22nd or the 23rd, probably at 6 o'clock. So what is your choice?
22nd's Wednesday.
Wednesday and the or Thursday.
Okay. Either.
Okay. A lot of times it seems like Thursdays seem to be, sometimes even Wednesdays there's meetings coming on. So let's plan on the 23rd, 6 p.m. It's going to be at the college at the Pioneer Room. And the reason why I want to do it there is it's a neutral place. And I thought it would be appropriate to do that. Okay. Reports by City Manager, Mr. Valentine.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Apologies for not being there in person. I was exposed to a positive case of COVID, and I'm fine, but for just being cautious for everyone out there, I'm quarantined in my office here for this meeting. I really don't have much to report. Some bad news. And unfortunately, we just did this gas rate adjustment. Council is moving forward with that. Well, we were also, as was mentioned, doing a electric rate adjustment. I got that report on May 2nd of this year, but electric to wait until this, but it's coming forward, and preliminarily, it looks like a 4.5% overall rate increase on power is being suggested. I understand the citizens that came forward and those out there in the public that this is really not a good time to be doing this, but we also have the fiduciary responsibility of running the utilities as enterprises, and it's just the cost of doing business. So that will be forthcoming. Sorry for that bad news, but other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
You know, on the good news side of it, I think that we didn't mention is that at our work session last week, Talitha, who is our grant writer, told us that we had received the grant for the walk path up from to exit 11 that we'd applied for, and I think that was for $350, was it? Was it $350,000, Mr. Valentine?
It's 1.8 million, I think, is,
Okay.
and then our match, so,
So anyway, that's some good news. Good news for the community.
yes.
Mr. Downs?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I want to say that before tonight, Mike had 2 meetings left. And so now we're down to 1. We're hoping that he can be here. It's like, just kidding. Anyway, so he was missed this evening. I do want to remind council, you had at your seating places the notification of the posting that there will be a special meeting this coming Thursday at 10 o'clock. It's an executive session for purposes of the reviewing the city manager applications. But I did want to make sure that all of you knew that and were mindful of that. And that's at 10 o'clock a.m. Again, that's going to be an executive session only, no decision making or anything of that nature. The last thing I wanted to ask you is, could we please have a copy of the comp plan that was passed out by Mr. Howland? We have lots in the city, but we want it for the record.
Here's one right here. You can have mine because I have a copy.
I bet.
And I
bet every.
As a matter of fact, I reviewed it when we put the, as a matter of fact, spent the last couple of weeks reviewing that. And anyway, there's some stuff in there that I think we need to discuss.
Yes.
Mr. Howard.
Understood. But that's all I have.
I was very remiss and I apologize. Staff is really forward thinking on these yetis.
I was going to ask, would you like to share how you guys got those fetching water bottles?
You know, we're trying to, we're always talking about recycling, and so if any of you have ever noticed, every meeting, city council, staff comes and brings bottles of water. And the staff was forward thinking and bought these Yeti cups for us, so we're trying to cut down on plastic waste, which means there's gonna be less waste. But thank you so much, and they're personalized.
Yeah.
You know, just for the audience sake, I'm not sure how many of you read the newspaper, I think it was yesterday, there was a report of some of the stuff that the governor's gonna be signing on or not signing. But there was one item on it, it was on recycling, that was voted down by the state legislature. That did not move forward, I'm not sure. It explained the reason why in the newspaper, but if you really want to know, go to, I think it was in yesterday's newspaper, and it'll tell you exactly the reason why it didn't make it through. So, if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn. So move. Second. Second. All vote.
DeBona?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yep.
Thurman?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes.